Autumn Bailey stared at her reflection in the glossy windows of Pierce Industries headquarters, barely recognizing the woman who stared back. 5 years had transformed her from the naive art gallery curator who'd fallen head over heels for Boston's most eligible bachelor into someone harder, sharper, a woman with a plan. "Mommy, are we there yet?" Little Ethan tugged at her designer pencil skirt, his twin sister Emma mimicking the action on her other side. Their perfect faces, mirror images of their father, Blake Pierce, gazed up at her with innocent excitement. "Almost, sweethearts." Autumn smoothed her hand over Emma's honey blonde curls, so like her father's, while her heart thundered against her ribs. "Remember what Mommy said? This is a very important meeting. You'll get to see where Mommy's new job is. A job 5 years in the making. Every business class, every late-night study session, every calculated career move had led to this moment. The twins were her secret weapon, but they were also her greatest vulnerability. Every time she looked at them, she saw Blake, saw the man who'd crushed her heart and thrown her out like yesterday's trash when his family had orchestrated their vicious whisper campaign. "Ms. Bailey?" A sleek receptionist appeared at her elbow. "Mr. Harrison will see you now regarding the marketing director position." Autumn squeezed her children's hands, leading them toward the executive elevator. Blake's uncle Thomas Harrison had no idea who she really was. She'd changed enough over the years, grown into someone entirely new. The shy artist was gone, replaced by a polished business professional with an MBA from Northwestern and a portfolio of successful marketing campaigns that made her the perfect candidate for this position. The perfect way to infiltrate the company that had once been her dream, back when she thought she'd be its next matriarch instead of its greatest threat. As the elevator climbed toward the executive floor, Autumn caught fragments of whispered conversations. Blake Pierce's engagement announcement. Merger with the Richardson Group. Wedding of the year. Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Poor Blake, thinking he'd finally found the society-approved wife his family had always wanted for him. He had no idea what was coming. No idea that the twins holding her hands were about to turn his perfectly ordered world upside down. "Remember, darlings," she whispered to her children as the elevator doors opened to reveal the marble-floored executive suite, "Mommy's going to be in a meeting. You'll stay with the nice lady in the company daycare for just a little while." Emma looked up at her with those piercing blue eyes, Blake's eyes. "Will we see where Daddy works?" Autumn's heart clenched. "Soon, baby. Very soon." Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. After dropping the twins at the company's state-of-the-art daycare center, Autumn straightened her shoulders and strode into Thomas Harrison's office. The room hadn't changed in 5 years, still the same pretentious oak panels, the same sweeping views of Boston Harbor, the same air of old money and power that had once intimidated her. "Ms. Bailey, please, have a seat." Thomas Harrison hadn't changed either. Same silver fox hair, same calculated smile that never quite reached his eyes. He was the architect of her downfall, though he didn't know she knew that. "Your credentials are quite impressive." "Thank you, Mr. Harrison." Autumn's voice was smooth as honey, masking the bitterness beneath. "Pierce Industries has always been at the forefront of innovation. Your recent expansion into sustainable technology particularly interests me." Thomas leaned back, studying her. "Tell me, Ms. Bailey, what makes you think you're qualified to handle our entire marketing division?" "It's a significant responsibility." 5 years ago, she would have stammered through her answer. Now, she met his gaze with unwavering confidence. "My campaign for Robertson Tech increased their market share by 40% in just 6 months. I specialize in rebranding traditional companies for the modern market, exactly what Pierce Industries needs right now." Interesting perspective. Thomas's fingers drummed against his desk. "You know, you remind me of someone, though I can't quite place it." Autumn's heart raced, but her smile remained perfectly in place. "I have one of those faces, I suppose." She opened her portfolio, directing his attention to her achievements, away from dangerous recognition. The interview continued, a delicate dance of questions and calculated responses. Through the glass walls, Autumn caught glimpses of familiar faces, executives who'd once smiled at her at charity galas, now walking past without a second glance. They'd all been part of it, all helped whisper those poisonous lies into Blake's ear. "One last question," Thomas said, closing her file. "I noticed you have children. Won't that interfere with the demanding schedule this position requires?" "My twins are my motivation, Mr. Harrison." Autumn let a hint of steel enter her voice. "Everything I do is for their future. I assure you, my dedication to this position would be absolute." A commotion outside drew their attention. Through the glass, Autumn saw him, Blake Pierce himself, striding down the hallway with his new fiancée, Gabriella Richardson. He was even more handsome than she remembered, his golden hair catching the sunlight, his confident stride commanding attention. Gabriella clung to his arm, a perfect society princess with her designer dress and polished smile. Blake paused, his head turning toward the office. For a heart-stopping moment, Autumn thought he might look in, might recognize her. But his eyes slid past, unseeing, as he continued down the hall. "That was my nephew," Thomas said proudly. "He's transformed this company. The merger with Richardson Industries will be his crowning achievement." "How wonderful," Autumn murmured, her fingers tightening on her portfolio. If only they knew that their precious merger was about to become the least of their problems. "Well, Ms. Bailey, I believe we've covered everything." Thomas stood, extending his hand. "We'll be in touch by the end of the week." Autumn shook his hand, her grip firm. "I look forward to it, Mr. Harrison. Pierce Industries feels like exactly where I'm meant to be." As she walked to the daycare to collect her children, Autumn's mind raced. Seeing Blake had shaken her more than she'd expected. But it had also strengthened her resolve. Let him play happy families with his perfect fiancée. Soon enough, he'd learn what it meant to have everything he thought he wanted ripped away. That evening, after tucking the twins into bed in their newly rented luxury apartment, Autumn pulled out an old photograph hidden in her desk drawer. It was taken at the Bennett Museum's annual gala, 5 years ago. She was wearing a midnight blue gown, laughing up at Blake as he gazed at her with unguarded adoration. They'd been so in love, or so she thought. "You were different then," she whispered to Blake's image. "Before your family poisoned everything." The memories flooded back. Their first meeting at the museum where she'd been curating a modern art exhibition. Blake had wandered in after hours, tie loosened, looking for escape from another tedious board meeting. She'd found him standing before an abstract piece, head tilted in confusion. "It represents the chaos of modern existence," she'd said, making him jump. "Or at least that's what the artist claims. Personally, I think he just spilled paint and got lucky." He'd laughed, deep and genuine, and something had sparked between them. That night, they'd talked for hours about art, life, and dreams. He wasn't like the arrogant businessman she'd expected. He was thoughtful, passionate about innovation, desperate to prove himself as more than just the Pierce heir. Their romance had been a whirlwind. Secret dates at hole-in-the-wall restaurants, midnight walks through Boston Common, stolen kisses in the museum's storage room. Blake had loved that she challenged him, that she saw past his family name to the man beneath. A cry from the twins' room snapped Autumn back to the present. She found Emma standing in her crib, tears streaming down her face. "Bad dream, Mommy." "Shoo, baby girl." Autumn scooped her up, breathing in her sweet baby scent. "Mommy's here." She settled into the rocking chair, Emma curled against her chest. Across the room, Ethan slept peacefully, his blonde curls tousled on the pillow. They were the only good thing to come from that terrible night, the night everything fell apart. The Pierce family's annual charity ball. She'd been floating on air, Blake's engagement ring glittering on her finger. Then Thomas Harrison had pulled Blake aside. Whispered conversations. Suspicious glances. By the end of the night, Blake was looking at her like she was a stranger. Gold digger, they'd called her. Manipulator. They'd somehow convinced Blake that she'd orchestrated their entire relationship, that she'd deliberately gotten pregnant to trap him. The evidence they'd manufactured was convincing: edited photos, fake emails, even a forged contract with a rival company. "I trusted them over you," Blake had said, his voice cold with contempt. "My family warned me about women like you." She'd fled that night, pregnant and heartbroken, her reputation in tatters. The Pierce family's influence had blacklisted her from every gallery in Boston. She'd had nothing but her determination and the lives growing inside her. Emma's breathing had evened out, tiny fingers clutching Autumn's silk blouse. "Your daddy will know you soon," she whispered. "And he'll realize exactly what he threw away." Her phone buzzed, an email from Pierce Industries. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Dear Ms. Bailey, we are pleased to offer you the position of marketing director." A smile curved her lips. Phase 1 of her plan was complete. Soon, Blake Pierce would learn that hell hath no fury like a woman betrayed, especially one who'd spent 5 years planning her revenge. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Autumn's first day as marketing director started with a company-wide meeting in the main conference room. She sat near the middle of the long table, perfectly positioned to observe Blake at its head without drawing attention to herself. His presence commanded the room as he discussed the upcoming merger with Richardson Industries. "The joining of our companies will revolutionize the clean energy sector," Blake announced, his voice still holding that hint of passion that had first drawn her to him. "Gabriella and I want our wedding to coincide with the merger announcement. A perfect union, both personal and professional." Autumn's pen snapped in her hand, blue ink staining her fingers. The woman beside her offered a tissue, whispering, "Wedding fevers hit everyone. Apparently, the ring cost more than my house." "How wonderful," Autumn murmured, her tone carefully neutral as she dabbed at the ink. Her own engagement ring from Blake still sat in a safety deposit box across town, a reminder of promises broken. The meeting continued, but Autumn barely heard the words. She was lost in studying Blake, noting the subtle changes 5 years had wrought. New lines around his eyes, a harder set to his jaw. Success had made him more attractive, but it had also carved away some of his warmth. The man who'd once spent hours debating art philosophy with her was now all crisp business efficiency. "Ms. Bailey?" Blake's voice cut through her thoughts. "You have something to add about the marketing strategy?" Autumn rose smoothly, ignoring the way her heart raced at him addressing her directly. "Yes, Mr. Pierce. I've prepared a comprehensive rebranding proposal for the merger." She clicked through her presentation, aware of his eyes on her. "We need to emphasize the human element, make people see this as more than just another corporate marriage." "Interesting choice of words," Blake commented, frowning slightly. Had something in her voice triggered a memory? But then Gabriella burst into the room, all designer perfume and clicking heels. "Darling, the wedding planner needs your input on the centerpieces." She paused, noticing the meeting. "Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt." "We're nearly finished," Blake said, his expression softening as he looked at his fiancée. It was the same look he'd once given Autumn. After the meeting, Autumn retreated to her new office, taking deep breaths to steady herself. On her desk sat a photo of the twins at their recent birthday party, their faces smeared with cake frosting. She picked it up, tracing their features with her finger. Her phone buzzed, a text from the twins' nanny: "The kids are asking about their father again." Emma saw his picture in a magazine. Autumn's hands trembled as she typed back, "Soon. Everything's happening soon." A knock at her door made her quickly set down the photo. It was Patricia Wheeler, Blake's executive assistant, and 5 years ago, one of the first to spread vicious rumors about Autumn. "Mr. Pierce wants to discuss your marketing proposal in detail," Patricia said, her eyes narrowing slightly. "There's something familiar about you, Ms. Bailey. Have we met before?" Autumn smiled, channeling ice into her veins. "I doubt it. I've spent the last 5 years in Chicago." The lie rolled easily off her tongue. "But I'm looking forward to working closely with everyone here. I have so many plans for Pierce Industries' future." "The meeting's scheduled for tomorrow morning," Patricia said, still studying her suspiciously. "Just you and Mr. Pierce." "Perfect," Autumn replied, her smile never wavering. Tomorrow she would be alone with Blake for the first time in 5 years. It would take every ounce of her control not to reveal everything, but she had to stick to the plan. The twins were safely hidden away at an exclusive private preschool across town, their existence still her secret weapon. As Patricia left, Autumn opened her laptop to review her proposal. On the surface, it was a brilliant marketing strategy. Underneath, it contained subtle barbs designed to remind Blake of their past, references only he would understand. Phase 2 was about to begin, making him remember, making him question, making him wonder about the woman he'd so carelessly thrown away. 9 a.m. sharp, Autumn stood outside Blake's corner office, her marketing proposal clutched in perfectly manicured hands. Through the glass walls, she could see him at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, a habit he'd had since their days together. He always said he did his best thinking that way. "Come in, Ms. Bailey." His voice hadn't changed. Still that same rich timbre that used to whisper poetry to her on lazy Sunday mornings. Autumn settled into the chair across from him, crossing her legs elegantly. "I've prepared a detailed breakdown of the marketing strategy, Mr. Pierce." She slid the proposal across his desk, their fingers almost touching in the exchange. Blake opened the folder, and Autumn watched his face carefully. She'd spent weeks crafting this presentation, weaving in subtle references to their past. The campaign's tagline, "Where trust meets truth," was a deliberate echo of words he'd once said to her. "This is unexpected," Blake murmured, flipping through the pages. He paused at her signature campaign image, 2 trees with intertwined roots, growing apart but forever connected. It was reminiscent of a painting he'd bought her at their favorite gallery. "I believe in meaningful symbolism," Autumn said softly. "Sometimes the deepest connections aren't visible on the surface." Blake's head snapped up, his blue eyes narrowing. "Have we met before, Ms. Bailey?" "There's something." "I have one of those faces," she replied smoothly, the same lie she'd told his uncle. "Though I admit, I've studied your company extensively. Your journey to CEO has been instructive." "Including my personal life?" His tone sharpened. "Some of these references seem rather intimate for a corporate rebranding." Autumn met his gaze steadily. "The Richardson merger is being marketed as a love story as much as a business deal, isn't it?" "I simply did my research. You and Gabriella make quite the power couple." Something flickered in Blake's eyes, doubt? Recognition? But then his phone buzzed with Gabriella's custom ringtone. He glanced at it, his expression softening automatically. "Speaking of," he said, declining the call. "The wedding announcement needs to be incorporated into the merger publicity. Can you handle that?" "Of course." Autumn's smile didn't waver. "I'm quite familiar with engagement announcements." Her hand brushed her bare ring finger, a gesture she'd practiced for weeks. Blake caught the movement, a frown creasing his forehead. For a moment, he looked troubled, like a man trying to remember a dream. "There's something about you, Ms. Bailey. Your presentation style, your mannerisms." "I'm simply good at my job, Mr. Pierce." Autumn stood, smooth and professional. "I know how to read people, understand their deepest desires and regrets." She turned to leave, counting silently. 3 steps, 2, 1. "Wait." Blake's voice stopped her at the door. "That perfume you're wearing." Autumn turned back slightly. She'd deliberately worn the same jasmine scent she'd worn throughout their relationship. "Yes?" Blake shook his head, running a hand through his hair, another old habit. "Nothing. It just reminded me of someone I used to know." "Someone never mind. Please proceed with the campaign as outlined." "Of course, Mr. Pierce." Autumn's voice was honey-sweet. "I'm sure this merger will be everything you deserve." She walked out, her heels clicking purposefully on the marble floor. Behind her, she could feel Blake's troubled gaze following her exit. Phase 2 was proceeding perfectly, planting the seeds of recognition, making him question his memories, his choices. In her office, she pulled out her phone, checking the photos the nanny had sent of the twins at preschool. Emma was painting, her little tongue stuck out in concentration just like Blake did when he was focused. Ethan was building with blocks, showing the same methodical precision his father brought to business deals. Soon, she thought. Soon he would know them. Soon he would understand exactly what his family had made him throw away. And by then, it would be too late to stop what she'd set in motion. 2 weeks into her new position, Autumn's carefully laid plans hit their first major obstacle. She was reviewing the merger documents when Eleanor Pierce, Blake's mother, swept into her office unannounced. 5 years hadn't softened the woman's sharp edges or her predatory smile. "So you're the new marketing director everyone's talking about," Eleanor said, settling uninvited into the chair across from Autumn's desk. "The one who's been making my son so distracted lately." Autumn kept her expression neutral, though her heart hammered against her ribs. "I wasn't aware Mr. Pierce was distracted. The merger preparations are proceeding exactly as planned." "Oh, he's distracted all right." Eleanor's perfectly painted lips curved into a sneer. "Asking questions about you, looking up your background. He says you remind him of someone." "How flattering." Autumn turned back to her computer screen, dismissive. "But I assure you, Mrs. Pierce, I'm focused solely on my professional duties." "Like Autumn Bailey was?" Eleanor's words hit like a slap. "That little gold digger who tried to trap my son 5 years ago?" Autumn's fingers stilled on her keyboard. "I'm not familiar with that name." "No?" Eleanor leaned forward. "That's strange, because I've been doing some digging of my own. Your credentials are impressive, almost too impressive. It's as if they were crafted specifically to appeal to our company. I've worked hard for my achievements." Autumn met Eleanor's gaze steadily. "Unlike some, I don't rely on family connections." Eleanor's eyes narrowed at the subtle jab. "You know what I see when I look at you? A threat. To this company, to Blake's engagement, to everything we've built. And I eliminate threats. Is that what you did to Autumn Bailey?" The words slipped out before she could stop them, laden with 5 years of buried rage. "Eliminated her?" A tense silence filled the office. Eleanor studied her with new intensity, like a cat sizing up its prey. "You know something about that situation." "Only what was in the papers." Autumn forced a casual shrug. "Quite the scandal, wasn't it? Though some might question why a family as powerful as yours needed to destroy a simple art curator so thoroughly." Before Eleanor could respond, Autumn's phone buzzed, a text from the twins' nanny, "Emergency at school. Emma's running a fever." Real panic replaced pretense. Autumn stood abruptly. "If you'll excuse me, Mrs. Pierce, I have an urgent matter to attend to." "Running away?" Eleanor's voice dripped with satisfaction. "How convenient. Some things are more important than business." Autumn grabbed her purse, her mind racing. She had to get to Emma, but leaving now would look suspicious. "Like family?" Eleanor rose gracefully. "You seem rather young to have such urgent family matters." "We all have our secrets, Mrs. Pierce." Autumn headed for the door, then paused. "Though some secrets have a way of revealing themselves at the most inconvenient moments." She rushed to the elevator, her composure cracking. Behind her, she could hear Eleanor on the phone. "Thomas? We need to talk about Ms. Bailey. Something isn't right." The school was 20 minutes away in good traffic. Autumn's hands shook as she called the nanny for updates. Emma's fever was climbing, and she kept asking for her mommy. For her daddy. "I'm coming, baby," Autumn whispered, fighting tears as she ran to her car. All her careful plans, all her schemes for revenge, none of it mattered compared to her children's welfare. She didn't notice Blake watching her hasty departure from his office window, his expression troubled. Didn't see him pick up his phone and dial a private investigator's number. "I need everything you can find on Hazel Bailey," he said. "There's something she's hiding, and I need to know what it is." Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. The pediatric urgent care waiting room was a blur of anxiety and fluorescent lights. Autumn paced, still in her work clothes, while Ethan played quietly with a toy truck at her feet. After what felt like hours, the doctor emerged with Emma in his arms, her face flushed but smiling. "Just a seasonal virus," he assured Autumn. "Her fever's already coming down with the medication. She'll need rest for a few days." Autumn gathered Emma close, breathing in her baby shampoo scent mixed with the antiseptic hospital smell. "Mommy was so worried, sweetheart." "I'm okay," Emma mumbled against her neck. "Can we go home now?" Home. The word hit differently tonight. Their luxury apartment was just another prop in her revenge scheme, not a real home. Looking at her daughter's pale face, Autumn felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. Her phone had been buzzing constantly, missed calls from the office, texts from Patricia about missed meetings. One message made her blood run cold. "Mr. Pierce requests an urgent meeting tomorrow morning regarding your unexpected departure." Later that night, after tucking both twins into her own bed, Emma still clingy with fever, Ethan refusing to leave his sister, Autumn sat at her kitchen counter with a glass of wine, pulling up security footage from the company daycare on her laptop. She'd hacked into it weeks ago, knowing she needed to monitor who came near the children. Her breath caught. There, time-stamped from that afternoon, Blake, standing in the daycare doorway, talking to the director. He'd never visited that part of the building before. Had Eleanor's suspicions driven him there? Was he already connecting the dots? A new email popped up on her screen. "Ms. Bailey. Your abrupt departure today raised several concerns. More pressingly, certain inconsistencies in your background have come to light. I expect a full explanation at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Blake Pierce. CEO, Pierce Industries." Autumn's fingers hovered over the keyboard as she drafted and deleted multiple responses. Finally, she kept it simple. "Mr. Pierce. I apologize for any inconvenience. My daughter's medical emergency required immediate attention. I'll be happy to address any concerns tomorrow. Hazel Bailey." She hit send, then poured more wine with trembling hands. Daughter, not daughters. Small eyes were still necessary, but for how much longer? The twins' faces were everywhere in the apartment, photos she should have hidden better. One wrong visitor, one slip-up, and everything would unravel. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Blake's private number. "Your daughter, what's her name?" Autumn stared at the message. He'd never texted her directly before. Was this a trap? Had he seen something at the daycare? She typed carefully, "Emma." Send. Delete message. Block number. In her bedroom, she heard one of the twins whimper. Moving to check on them, she found Ethan awake, his blue eyes, Blake's eyes, watching her in the darkness. "Mommy," he whispered, "I heard you crying. Are you sad?" Autumn crawled into bed, gathering both her children close. "No, baby. Mommy's just thinking about changes. Big changes coming soon." "Good changes?" Emma murmured sleepily, still feverish. Autumn kissed their foreheads, tears threatening again. "I don't know anymore, sweethearts. I really don't know." Her phone lit up with one last message before she blocked Blake's number completely. "Emma. Like my grandmother's name." Tomorrow's meeting loomed like a storm on the horizon. She'd have to face Blake, face his questions, knowing he was already piecing together the puzzle. The revenge she'd planned for so long was spiraling out of her control, tangled up with the love she still felt for him and the guilt of keeping his children hidden. "My clever, beautiful babies," she whispered to their sleeping forms. "Whatever happens tomorrow, remember Mommy did it all for you. Everything. Always." 8 a.m. sharp, Autumn walked into Blake's office, steeled for battle. The twins were safely at home with the nanny, Emma still recovering. She'd spent the night shredding documents, hiding photos, preparing for the worst. Blake stood at his window, his back to her. "Close the door, Ms. Bailey. Or should I say?" He turned, his face hard. "Who are you, really? You know exactly who I am." Autumn remained standing, one hand gripping her leather portfolio. You've been investigating me. Your credentials are impeccable. Too impeccable. Blake moved closer, his cologne, still the same after all these years, wrapping around her. Northwestern MBA, Chicago marketing experience, glowing references. A perfect candidate, crafted to appeal to this company. To me. Perhaps I'm just excellent at my job. Perhaps. He stopped directly in front of her. But then there's your daughter. Emma. Named after my grandmother. Autumn's heart raced. It's a common name. With honey blonde hair and blue eyes. Blake's voice dropped lower. Who looks exactly like my baby pictures. I saw her at the daycare yesterday. What were you doing there? Following a hunch. His hand reached out, almost touching her face before dropping away. You've changed everything about yourself. Your hair, your style, even the way you move. But your eyes. God, how did I not see it immediately? Autumn. The sound of her real name on his lips made her flinch. Don't. 5 years. His voice cracked. You disappeared 5 years ago. And now you're back with a daughter the exact right age to be. To be what, Blake? Autumn's control snapped. To be the child you accused me of fabricating to trap you? The pregnancy your family claimed was a lie. I believed them. His words came out tortured. They showed me evidence, emails, photos. Fake evidence. Autumn's voice rose. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. You chose them over me. Over us. Blake stepped back, running his hands through his hair. Emma, she's mine, isn't she? That's why you're really here. To tell me I have a daughter. A bitter laugh escaped Autumn's lips. A daughter? No, Blake. You have twins. The color drained from his face. Twins? Emma and Ethan. 5 years old next month. Autumn pulled out her phone, thumbing through to a recent photo. Congratulations, Daddy. They have your eyes, your smile, your laugh. Everything but your last name. Blake staggered to his desk, gripping the edge. Twins, he whispered. I have. I missed. You missed everything. Autumn's voice turned cold. Their first words, first steps, first day of preschool. You missed the nights I worked 3 jobs to support them, the times they were sick and I had no one to help me, the moments they asked why they didn't have a daddy like other kids. Why now? Blake's eyes were wet when he looked up. Why come back like this? Because your family destroyed my life based on lies. Because you believe those lies without question. Because our children deserve to know their father, even if he's about to marry someone else. Autumn's smile turned sharp. And because I'm going to take everything from you, just like you took everything from me. The merger, Blake breathed. The marketing campaign. You've been planning something. I've been planning everything. Autumn moved to the door. Check your emails. In about 30 seconds, every board member will receive proof that the Richardson merger is based on fraudulent numbers, proof I've spent 5 years gathering. Your perfect fiancé's family has been cooking their books for years. You'll destroy both companies. No. Autumn's hand rested on the doorknob. Just the merger. Just your fairy tale wedding. Just the trust your family spent generations building. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Wait. Blake's voice stopped her. The twins, please. Let me meet them properly. Let me try to make this right. Autumn paused, remembering Emma's fever-bright eyes asking for her daddy. They're at home today. Emma's still sick. She glanced back at him. But you've lost the right to walk into their lives on your terms. On any terms. She opened the door just as the first urgent emails started pouring in. Behind her, Blake's phone erupted with messages and calls. The carefully constructed world of Pierce Industries was about to implode, and she'd lit the match. But as she walked away, Autumn felt no triumph. Only the weight of 5 years of pain, and the knowledge that revenge might cost her children the father they deserved. Pierce Industries erupted into chaos within hours. Autumn watched from her office as board members rushed past, their faces twisted with panic. The Richardson fraud evidence was irrefutable, she'd made sure of that. Years of fabricated profits, hidden debts, all exposed with surgical precision. Her phone hadn't stopped ringing. Eleanor Pierce, Thomas Harrison, even Gabriella Richardson, all desperate to contain the damage. She ignored them all, focusing instead on the one message that mattered, a photo from her nanny showing Emma's fever had finally broken. A commotion outside drew her attention. Gabriella stormed down the hallway, mascara streaking her perfect face. "You!" She burst into Autumn's office. "You planned this. You've ruined everything." "Actually," Autumn replied calmly, "your family's creative accounting ruined everything. I just exposed it. We were going to fix those numbers after the merger," Gabriella hissed. Blake understood that. He was willing to help. Was he? Autumn's eyebrow arched. "Or did you just assume he'd clean up your family's mess because he loved you?" "He does love me." But uncertainty flickered in Gabriella's eyes. "This morning, he was talking about our wedding. And now he's talking about his twins." Autumn's words hit like a slap. Funny how quickly things change. Gabriella stumbled backward. "What did you say?" "You heard me." Autumn stood, gathering her things. "Ask Blake about Emma and Ethan. Ask him why he's been distracted lately. Ask him about Autumn Bailey." Recognition dawned on Gabriella's face. "The woman from 5 years ago, that's you? The woman he abandoned because of his family's lies. The mother of his children." Autumn shouldered her bag. "Congratulations on your engagement, by the way. The ring really is beautiful. Though not quite as beautiful as the one he gave me." She left Gabriella standing there, shell-shocked, and headed for the elevator. But the doors opened to reveal Thomas Harrison, his face purple with rage. "You vindictive little snake," he snarled. "You think you can just walk in here and destroy what we've built? Like you destroyed my life?" Autumn's voice carried down the hallway, drawing stares. "Tell me, Uncle Thomas, how much did it cost to forge those emails? To Photoshop those pictures? To make Blake believe I was a liar and a gold digger? I did what was necessary to protect this family. And I did what was necessary to protect mine." Autumn's smile was razor-sharp. "Your nephew has twins, by the way. Would you like to see pictures of your great-niece and nephew? The grandchildren you helped keep from your own brother?" Thomas staggered back, face paling. "You're lying. Like you lied to Blake?" She stepped into the elevator. "Check his office. I left him quite a few photos to look through. 5 years' worth, in fact." As the doors closed, she caught a glimpse of Blake emerging from his office, his face haunted. Their eyes met for a brief moment before the elevator whisked her away. In her car, Autumn finally let her hands shake. She'd done it. The revenge she'd planned for so long was complete. Pierce Industries' reputation would recover eventually, but the merger was dead. The family's perfect facade was shattered. Her phone buzzed with a text from Blake, "They're beautiful. Our children are so beautiful. Please, let me make this right." Tears blurred her vision as she typed back, "Emma's been asking for you. She's feeling better now. The nanny's address is." She paused, finger hovering over the send button. Was she ready for this? To let him into their lives? To risk her heart again? Another text came through, a photo. Blake, holding a framed picture she recognized. Their first date at the museum gala, before everything went wrong. He'd kept it all these years. "I never stopped loving you," his message read. "I just forgot how to trust my heart instead of my family's lies." Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Autumn's hands trembled as she unlocked her apartment door. Blake stood in the hallway, still in his business suit but looking more disheveled than she'd ever seen him. His eyes were red-rimmed, his golden hair mussed from running his fingers through it countless times. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. The nanny had taken the twins to the living room, where they were watching cartoons, blissfully unaware their entire world was about to change. "I've never been more sure of anything." Blake's voice cracked. "I've missed 5 years. I don't want to miss another second." Autumn nodded, leading him inside. The apartment was filled with evidence of their children's existence, artwork on the fridge, toys scattered despite her best efforts to tidy, tiny shoes by the door. Blake took it all in with hungry eyes, pausing at a finger painting signed Emma and Ethan Pierce in childish scrawl. "They used your last name," he whispered. "They chose it themselves," Autumn admitted. "They saw it in a magazine article about you. I never told them they couldn't use it." From the living room came the sound of children's laughter. Blake grabbed Autumn's hand instinctively, like he used to do when they were nervous about something together. She almost pulled away, but the trembling in his fingers matched her own. "Mommy!" Emma's voice called out. "You're home early." Autumn squeezed Blake's hand once before letting go. "I brought someone special to meet you," she called back. "Someone who's been wanting to meet you both for a very long time." They rounded the corner together. The twins were sprawled on the floor, surrounded by coloring books and stuffed animals. They looked up in unison, and Blake made a choked sound beside her. "They're perfect," he breathed. Emma tilted her head, studying Blake with unusual intensity for a 5-year-old. "You look like the man from Mommy's special picture." "The one she cries over sometimes," Ethan added, earning a sharp look from his sister. Blake took a shaky step forward, then knelt down to their level. I'm your daddy." The twins exchanged one of their silent communications that never failed to amaze Autumn. Then Emma stood up, walking right up to Blake. She reached out and touched his face with her small hand. "You have eyes like mine," she declared. Then, with the brutal honesty of children, "Why didn't you want us before?" "Emma." Autumn started forward, but Blake held up a hand. "It's okay," he said, tears flowing freely now. "I didn't know about you. Both of you. And that was the biggest mistake of my life. But I want to know you now. If you'll let me." Ethan joined his sister, more cautious but equally curious. "Do you know how to build rocket ships?" he asked seriously. "Mommy tries, but she's not very good at it." A laugh burst from Blake's throat, wet with tears. "I'm pretty good at rocket ships. And I'd love to build some with you. Can you stay for dinner?" Emma asked. "We're having mac and cheese. It's Mommy's special recipe." Blake looked at Autumn, question and hope warring in his eyes. She nodded slightly. "I'd like that very much," he told Emma. "But first," Ethan said with all the gravity a 5-year-old could muster, "you have to see our room. We have bunk beds." The twins each grabbed one of Blake's hands, pulling him toward their bedroom. He went willingly, looking back at Autumn with wonder and gratitude in his eyes. Watching them go, Autumn felt tears of her own start to fall. This wasn't how she'd planned her revenge to end. She'd wanted him to suffer, to feel the pain of loss she'd felt. Instead, she was watching her children's faces light up as they showed their father their favorite toys, their artwork, their world. Her phone buzzed, Eleanor Pierce calling again, probably to threaten or beg. Autumn declined the call, then deleted the number. The revenge she'd planned had succeeded in destroying the merger, exposing the lies, but watching Blake with their children, she realized something profound. True revenge wasn't about destroying him. It was about building something new from the ashes of what his family had burned down. From the twins' room came the sound of laughter, Blake's deep chuckle mixing with the children's giggles. Emma's voice rose in excitement. "Daddy, look. I drew our whole family." Autumn walked to the doorway, her heart catching at the sight. Blake sat cross-legged on the floor, a child on each side, looking at Emma's crayon drawing of 4 stick figures holding hands. In that moment, she saw the future shifting, transforming into something she hadn't dared to hope for. The simple mac and cheese dinner stretched into hours of conversation, laughter, and bittersweet revelations. The twins, usually in bed by 8, were too excited to follow their routine, bouncing between Blake and Autumn with endless stories and questions. It wasn't until Emma fell asleep mid-sentence in her father's lap that reality began to seep back in. "I should put them to bed," Autumn said softly, watching Blake cradle their daughter with natural instinct, while Ethan dozed against his shoulder. The sight made her heart ache with what could have been, what should have been, these past 5 years. "Let me help," Blake whispered, following her lead to the twins' room. Together, they tucked the children into their beds, a domestic scene that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. As they closed the bedroom door, the weight of everything unsaid hung heavy between them. In the kitchen, Autumn busied herself cleaning up dinner dishes, needing the mundane task to ground her. Blake leaned against the counter, watching her with intensity that reminded her of their early dating days. "You've done an amazing job with them," he finally said, his voice rough with emotion. "They're incredible, Autumn. Smart, kind, confident, everything I could have hoped for in my children." "No thanks to you or your family," the words slipped out before she could stop them, sharp with 5 years of buried pain. "I deserve that." Blake ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she remembered well. "But there's something you need to know about what happened 5 years ago. Something I discovered today after you left the office." Autumn set down the dish she was washing, turning to face him. "What are you talking about?" "After your revelation, I confronted my mother and Thomas. Really confronted them, for the first time." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. "They broke down and confessed everything. The fabricated evidence against you. It wasn't just about protecting the family name or thinking you were after my money. There was a bigger plan." "What do you mean?" "The Richardsons. They've been circling Pierce Industries for years, looking for a way in. My mother and uncle saw Gabriella as the perfect opportunity to merge the companies, to expand our influence. But you..." He looked up at her, his blue eyes intense. "You were in the way. Independent, strong-willed, not easily controlled. They saw you as a threat to their plans even before they knew about the pregnancy." Autumn gripped the counter behind her. "So they destroyed me to pave the way for their perfect merger? The same merger I just exposed as fraudulent? The irony isn't lost on me." Blake moved closer, close enough that she could smell his familiar cologne. "They orchestrated everything, the fake emails, the doctored photos, even planted witnesses to collaborate their story about you being a gold digger. They knew I trusted them implicitly, knew I'd believe family over anyone else. And you did," Autumn's voice cracked. "Without question. Without even giving me a chance to explain." "I was a coward," Blake admitted, his hands clenching at his sides like he was fighting the urge to reach for her. "I let them think for me, let them control me. And it cost me everything that really mattered." A cry from the twins' room interrupted the moment. They both moved instinctively toward the sound, but Autumn held up a hand. "I'll check. They're still getting used to all this." She found Ethan standing in his Batman pajamas, looking confused. "I had a bad dream," he mumbled. "Dreamed Daddy was gone again." Autumn's heart broke a little more. She scooped him up, feeling him burrow into her neck like he did as a baby. "Daddy's still here, sweetheart. He's in the kitchen. Wanna go see?" Ethan nodded against her shoulder. When they returned to the kitchen, Blake's face crumpled at the sight of their son's tears. Without hesitation, he crossed the room and took Ethan from Autumn's arms. "I'm here, buddy," he whispered, rocking gently. "And I'm not going anywhere. I promise." Autumn watched them, her carefully constructed walls crumbling. This wasn't part of her revenge plan, watching Blake become a father, seeing him love their children with the same immediate, overwhelming devotion she'd felt from the moment she knew she was pregnant. "The guest room is made up," she found herself saying as Ethan's eyes started to droop again. "If you want to stay. In case they wake up again." Blake's eyes met hers over their son's head, hope warring with caution. "Are you sure?" "No," she admitted honestly. But they need this. Need you. And I can't. I won't deny them that chance just because of what happened between us. Once Ethan was back in bed, they sat on opposite ends of the living room couch, the space between them filled with 5 years of missed moments and fresh revelations. I ended things with Gabriella, Blake said quietly. After you left the office. She admitted she knew about her family's fraudulent practices, expected me to cover them up after the merger. She never loved me, just the power our marriage would bring. Like mother, like daughter, Autumn commented dryly. Both families playing chess with people's lives. I've spent 5 years being their pawn. Blake shifted closer, his eyes intent on her face. But seeing you again, meeting our children, it's like waking up from a long nightmare. Everything I thought I wanted, the merger, the society marriage, my family's approval, none of it matters compared to what I lost. What I threw away. Blake. Autumn started to rise, but he caught her hand. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, he said quickly. I know you came back for revenge, to destroy everything my family built. And you succeeded. The merger's dead, the Richardsons are facing federal investigation, and my mother and uncle will probably face charges for their role in both situations. That was the plan, Autumn admitted, but there was less satisfaction in the words than she'd expected. But watching you with Emma and Ethan, seeing the incredible mother you've become, the successful woman you've made yourself into despite everything we did to you. Blake's thumb traced patterns on her palm, sending shivers up her arm. I'm in awe of you, Autumn. And I know I have no right to ask, but please, let me try to make amends. Not just with the twins, but with you. Autumn pulled her hand away, wrapping her arms around herself. You can't just undo 5 years of pain, Blake. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to be okay. I know. He stood, respecting her space. But I'm asking for a chance to try. To be the father our children deserve, and maybe, someday, to be the man you once believed I could be. Their eyes met in the soft lamplight, 5 years of hurt and love and anger and hope swirling between them. From the twins' room came the soft sound of their children's breathing, a reminder of everything that had changed and everything that was still possible. The next morning brought chaos on multiple fronts. Autumn woke to the sounds of Emma's delighted squeal. Blake had gotten up early to make chocolate chip pancakes, a weekend tradition he'd missed for 5 years. The sight of him in her kitchen, helping their daughter measure flour while Ethan seriously supervised from his perch on a counter stool, made her breath catch. But the domestic tranquility was shattered by her phone buzzing incessantly. The news of Pierce Industries' scandal had broken nationwide. Headlines screamed about corporate fraud, family betrayal, and the collapse of the year's biggest merger. Eleanor Pierce's carefully crafted society image was in shambles, and Thomas Harrison had been taken in for questioning by the SEC. The board's calling an emergency meeting, Blake said, glancing at his own phone while flipping a perfect pancake. They want both of us there. Both of us? Autumn raised an eyebrow, pouring coffee into her travel mug. You're still marketing director, he reminded her. And you have evidence they need about the Richardson fraud. Besides. He lowered his voice so the twins couldn't hear, Mother and Uncle Thomas aren't the only ones who need to face consequences. The whole board knew about what they did to you 5 years ago. They all helped cover it up. Autumn watched Emma attempt to draw a smiley face and pancake batter. We can't leave the twins. Not when everything's so new. Already handled. Blake smiled softly. I called my grandmother, my real grandmother, Emma's namesake. The only one in the family who opposed what they did to you. She's flying in from her cottage in Maine. Should be here in an hour. The grandmother you always said was the only one who understood you. Autumn remembered the stories he'd told her about the family matriarch who rejected society's expectations to live life on her own terms. She can't wait to meet them. Blake's eyes were warm. She said she knew something was wrong with their story about you from the start. She tried to tell me, but I was too blind to listen. Before Autumn could respond, her phone rang again, a number she recognized. Ms. Bailey, her lawyer's crisp voice came through. The SEC wants to meet. They're very interested in how you obtain the evidence about Richardson Industries. All legally documented, Autumn assured her, watching Blake help Ethan arrange banana slices into a face on his pancakes. 5 years of careful investigation. Every piece of evidence is admissible. Good. Because Eleanor Pierce is trying to claim corporate espionage. She's desperate to shift blame. Autumn's laugh was bitter. Of course she is. Tell the SEC I'll meet them after the board meeting. And Catherine? Make sure they understand that Pierce Industries itself isn't the target. Just the individuals who orchestrated both frauds. She hung up to find Blake watching her intently. You protected the company, he said quietly. You could have destroyed everything, but you specifically targeted the merger and the people involved in hurting you. I didn't want to hurt innocent employees, Autumn admitted. Or taint the good work Pierce Industries does. I just wanted justice, Blake finished. Not just revenge. A knock at the door interrupted them. Emma ran to answer it, but Autumn caught her. What's our rule about doors? Always check who it is first, Emma recited, then peeked through the peephole. Her eyes widened. Mommy. It's the pretty lady from your special box. Autumn's heart skipped. She opened the door to reveal an elegant woman in her 70s, her silver hair swept into a classic chignon. Despite her age, Emma Pierce Sr. stood straight and tall, her blue eyes, so like her grandson's and great-grandchildren's, sharp with intelligence. Well, she said, taking in the scene before her. It seems my grandson finally came to his senses. Her gaze fell on the twins, who were watching her curiously. And these must be my great-grandchildren. I've waited a very long time to meet you. Emma, always the bolder twin, stepped forward. I'm named after you, she announced proudly. So you are, dear heart. The elder Emma knelt carefully, opening her arms. And what a wonderful job you're doing with my name. While the twins got to know their great-grandmother, showing her their toys and artwork, Autumn and Blake prepared for the board meeting. The weight of what was to come hung heavy between them. Ready for this? Blake asked as they gathered their things. Autumn looked at their children, safely entertained by a grandmother who'd already fallen in love with them, then back at the man she'd come to destroy but who now stood beside her against his own family. 5 years ago, I wasn't ready for any of this, she said honestly. I was young, in love, and blind to the sharks circling us. But now? She squared her shoulders. Now I'm ready for everything. The drive to Pierce Industries was tense with anticipation. News vans crowded the parking lot, reporters hungry for a glimpse of the family drama unfold. Blake's hand found hers as they walked through the gauntlet of cameras. Ms. Bailey. Is it true you're actually Blake Pierce's ex-fiancé? Mr. Pierce. Comment on the allegations against your family? What about the twins? Sources say you have secret children. They ignored them all, entering the building with heads held high. In the elevator, Blake didn't let go of her hand. Whatever happens in there, he said softly, I want you to know something. Finding you again, meeting our children, it's worth losing everything else. The company, the money, my family's reputation, none of it matters compared to what I almost lost forever. The elevator doors opened to reveal Eleanor Pierce waiting in the hallway, her perfect composure cracked with fury. How dare you show your faces here? After what you've done to this family. No, Mother, Blake's voice was steel. How dare you show your face after what you did to my real family? My children. Their mother. The woman I love. The words hung in the air between them all. Autumn's heart thundered in her chest as she faced the woman who'd orchestrated her downfall. But this time, she wasn't a naive young artist easily crushed by society's cruelty. This time, she was a mother protecting her cubs, a businesswoman who'd beat them at their own game, and a woman who'd turned her pain into power. Shall we begin? She said coolly, gesturing to the boardroom. I believe we have quite a lot to discuss. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. The Pierce Industries boardroom crackled with tension as Autumn and Blake took their seats. The board members, 12 of the most powerful people in Boston, shifted uncomfortably under their combined gaze. These were the same people who'd watched her destruction 5 years ago and done nothing. Now they sat like guilty schoolchildren, avoiding her eyes. Before we begin, Eleanor Pierce's voice cut through the silence. I move to have Hazel Bailey, or should I say Autumn Bailey, removed from this meeting. She's clearly orchestrated this entire situation as revenge. Revenge? Autumn's laugh was cold and clear. Let's talk about orchestration, Eleanor. Should we discuss the elaborate scheme you and Thomas created to separate Blake from me? Or perhaps the way you manipulated your own son to pave the way for a fraudulent merger? She opened her briefcase, pulling out a thick folder. I have signed affidavits from 3 former Pierce Industries employees detailing how you and Thomas fabricated evidence against me. I have the original, unaltered versions of those damaging photos you doctored. And I have proof that you knew about the Richardson family's financial fraud before pushing for the merger. You can't prove any of this, Thomas Harrison sputtered from his seat, but his face had gone pale. Actually, Blake intervened, his voice hard, she can. And so can I. He produced his own folder. I spent all night going through the family files Mother and Uncle Thomas thought they'd hidden. Every email, every transaction, every piece of their conspiracy, it's all here. One of the board members, Janet Chen, leaned forward. Mr. Pierce, Ms. Bailey, what exactly are you proposing? Autumn and Blake exchanged a look. They'd discussed this during their midnight planning session, after the twins were asleep. Pierce Industries is bigger than the Pierce family's corruption, Autumn stated clearly. The company employs thousands of people, develops vital green technologies, contributes millions to charitable causes. It deserves better than leaders who prioritize personal gain over corporate integrity. We're proposing a complete restructuring, Blake continued. My mother and uncle will resign, effective immediately. The board will be reformed with independent directors who weren't involved in either scandal. And the company will cooperate fully with the SEC investigation into both the Richardson fraud and my family's actions. Eleanor shot to her feet. You ungrateful child. Everything we did was for you, for this company's future. No. Blake's voice cracked with emotion. Everything you did was for control. You controlled me my entire life, made me doubt my own heart, my own choices. You made me lose 5 years with my children because they didn't fit your perfect plan. Children? One of the older board members gasped. Others began whispering among themselves. Yes, Autumn's voice carried across the room. Twin 5-year-olds. Your grandchildren, Eleanor. The ones you were so desperate to pretend didn't exist that you destroyed their mother's reputation and convinced your own son to abandon them. She pulled out her phone, bringing up a photo of Emma and Ethan from that morning, chocolate chip pancake batter on their smiling faces. The photo was passed around the table, board members' expressions softening as they saw the undeniable Pierce family features in the children's faces. Oh my God, Janet Chen whispered. They look exactly like Blake did at that age. Impossible, Eleanor tried again, but her voice wavered. She trapped him, tried to force her way into our family. That's enough, Mother. Blake's tone was final. I've seen the truth. About everything. You didn't protect me or this company. You protected your own power, your own agenda. And you used me to do it. The board needs to vote, Autumn interjected smoothly. Support our restructuring plan, cooperate with the SEC, and Pierce Industries can emerge stronger, more transparent, more ethical. Or. She let the threat hang unspoken. The vote was unanimous. Within an hour, Eleanor Pierce and Thomas Harrison were being escorted from the building by security, their company phones and access cards confiscated. The press went wild, cameras flashing as Boston's most prominent family imploded in real time. Later, in Blake's office, soon to be repurposed as part of the restructuring, Autumn stood at the window, watching Eleanor's car disappear into traffic. Are you okay? She asked Blake softly. She knew how much it cost him to stand against his family, despite everything they'd done. No, he admitted, moving to stand beside her. But I will be. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing what's right over what's expected. Choosing love over legacy. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining naturally. Speaking of love. Autumn's phone buzzed, interrupting the moment. A photo from Blake's grandmother, the twins in her garden, making fairy houses out of flowers and twigs. They looked so happy, so innocent of the drama unfolding around their parents. They're going to have questions, Autumn said quietly. About family, about trust, about why everything's changing so fast. Then we'll answer them together, Blake squeezed her hand. If you'll let me try to be the father they deserve. The man you deserved 5 years ago. Autumn turned to face him fully. The man who'd broken her heart stood before her, humbled and honest, chosen love over family obligation, truth over comfortable lies. The revenge she'd planned had transformed into something else, not just justice, but perhaps a chance at healing. We take it slow, she said finally. The twins come first. Everything else, we'll figure it out day by day. Blake's smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. Day by day, he agreed. Though I should warn you, Emma told me this morning she expects pancakes every day now. Apparently, I make them better than you do. Autumn laughed, a real laugh that felt like letting go of a weight she'd carried for 5 years. She's your daughter, all right. Already knows how to wound me deeply. Outside the office, Pierce Industries buzzed with change and uncertainty. But in that moment, watching Boston's skyline with their fingers still intertwined, Autumn felt something she hadn't expected when she'd planned her revenge: hope. The weeks following the Pierce Industries upheaval transformed everyone's lives in unexpected ways. Autumn maintained her position as marketing director, her genuine talent finally recognized beyond her revenge plot. Blake threw himself into both corporate restructuring and fatherhood with equal dedication, making up for lost time with a devotion that touched even Autumn's guarded heart. The twins blossomed under their father's attention. Ethan's early interest in engineering found an eager mentor in Blake, their dining room table often covered in elaborate Lego constructions. Emma's artistic streak, inherited from her mother, led to weekend visits to the very museum where her parents had first met, Blake now seeing the art through his daughter's imaginative eyes. But it wasn't all fairy tales and happy endings. One rainy evening, as Autumn worked late at the office, Eleanor Pierce made one final attempt to reclaim her power. You think you've won, don't you? The former matriarch's voice dripped with venom as she swept into Autumn's office, designer heels clicking ominously. Stolen my son, corrupted my company, destroyed my family's legacy? Autumn didn't even look up from her computer. Security is on their way, Eleanor. You're not supposed to be in this building. I built this building. Eleanor slammed her hands on Autumn's desk. Everything Blake has, everything you're now enjoying, I created. No, Autumn finally met her gaze. You controlled it. There's a difference. And now you're facing federal charges for that control. I did what any mother would do, Eleanor's voice cracked slightly. I protected my son from someone who would change him, challenge him. Love him? Autumn stood slowly. That's what you really couldn't handle, wasn't it? That Blake loved someone who saw him as more than just the Pierce heir. Someone who encouraged him to think for himself. He was weak when he was with you, Eleanor spat. All that artistic nonsense, those common ideas about innovation over tradition. Mother. Blake's voice cut through the tension. He stood in the doorway, his face hard. That's enough. Blake, darling, Eleanor's tone switched instantly to honeyed manipulation. I was just explaining to this woman about our family's values. Our family? Blake moved to stand beside Autumn. You mean the family that's about to gather for Emma and Ethan's birthday party this weekend? Because that's my family now. My children, their mother, grandmother Emma, the people who love me for who I am, not what they can mold me into. The SEC has my full statement, he continued, his voice cold. About everything. The fraud, the conspiracy against Autumn, all of it. It's over, Mother. Let it go before you make things worse for yourself. Security arrived, professionally escorting a protesting Eleanor from the building. In the aftermath, Autumn sank into her chair, trembling slightly. You okay? Blake knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. She's right about one thing, Autumn admitted. I did change everything. Just not the way I originally planned. You made everything better, Blake insisted. The company's more successful than ever with honest leadership. The twins are thriving. And I. He hesitated, then forged ahead. I'm finally becoming the man I always wanted to be. The man you saw in me 5 years ago. Autumn studied their joined hands. The past weeks had softened something between them, old wounds gradually healing through shared pancake breakfasts and bedtime stories, through late-night conversations about missed moments and future hopes. The twins want to know if you're staying for dinner again, she said softly. They're getting used to having you there. I want to be there every night, Blake's voice was rough with emotion. I want lazy Sunday mornings and homework help and family game nights. I want to watch you brush Emma's hair and teach Ethan about stars. I want. What do you want, Blake? You. The word hung between them. All of you. Our family together, properly this time. No secrets, no lies, no manipulative relatives trying to tear us apart. Just us, figuring it out day by day, like we promised. Autumn's free hand went to her neck, pulling out a chain that had been hidden under her blouse. On it hung her original engagement ring, the one she'd kept all these years. I couldn't let it go, she whispered. Even when I hated you, even when I was planning to destroy everything you had. I couldn't let this go. Blake stared at the ring, recognition and hope warring in his eyes. I thought you'd sold it. It's worth more than money, Autumn smiled sadly. It represents who we were before everything went wrong. The love we had, the dreams we shared. The dreams we could still have, Blake said quietly. If you'll trust me again. Before Autumn could respond, her phone chimed with a video call. She answered to find the twins' faces filling the screen, squished together to both fit in the frame. Mommy. Daddy. Emma's voice was urgent. Grandma Emma is teaching us to make her special cookies, but Ethan keeps eating all the chocolate chips. I'm not. Ethan protested. Well, maybe some of them. Blake laughed, moving closer to see the screen. His arms slipped naturally around Autumn's shoulders as they watched their children debate the proper chocolate-to-cookie ratio. We'll be home soon, Autumn promised. Save some dough for us. After ending the call, neither of them moved apart. The ring still glinted on its chain between them, catching the evening light like a promise waiting to be renewed. Day by day? Blake asked softly. Autumn turned into his embrace, letting herself feel the rightness of it. Day by day, she agreed. But maybe some days can be bitter than others. In the distance, thunder rolled, the same sound that had accompanied their first kiss in the museum gallery 5 years ago. Some might call it an omen. Autumn chose to see it as life coming full circle, revenge transformed into redemption, broken hearts healing into something stronger than before. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. 1 year later, the garden of Blake's grandmother's main cottage bloomed with summer flowers. Emma and Ethan, now 6, chased butterflies while their great-grandmother watched from her porch rocker, her blue eyes twinkling with contentment. The twins had brought youth back to the old house, filling it with laughter and love. Mommy, look! Emma called out, her honey-blonde curls catching the sunlight. She held up a perfect seashell found in Grandmother Emma's prized garden. It matches your dress. Autumn touched the simple white sundress she wore, emotions threatening to overwhelm her. It's perfect, sweetheart. Why don't you add it to the collection? The collection was a glass jar sitting on a table decorated with wildflowers and twinkling lights. Each guest at this intimate gathering had been asked to bring a shell or stone, pieces of the Maine coast that had witnessed so much healing over the past year. Are you ready? Blake's grandmother asked softly, reaching for Autumn's hand. The guests are arriving. Through the garden gate came the small group they'd chosen to share this day: Janet Chen, who'd helped rebuild Pierce Industries into a more ethical company; Autumn's old gallery colleagues who'd supported her through the hard years; Blake's few true friends who'd stood by him as he changed his life. Notably absent were Eleanor and Thomas, both serving house arrest while awaiting trial for corporate fraud. Their absence felt like freedom rather than loss. Blake appeared from the cottage, Ethan perched on his shoulders. The little boy now wore a miniature version of his father's suit, proudly carrying a small velvet box. "The rings are safe, Mommy," he announced. "I practiced walking straight 100 times. "Only 50 times, Blake corrected with a wink at Autumn. "But who's counting?" As their small group of witnesses gathered in the garden, Grandmother Emma stood to officiate, a power she'd gained specifically for this day. The twins took their places of honor, Emma scattering rose petals while Ethan guarded the rings with solemn dedication. "1 year ago," the elder Emma began, her voice carrying clearly across the garden, "this family stood broken by lies, separated by pride, and wounded by betrayal. But today we witness something extraordinary: the power of love to heal, to forgive, and to build something stronger from broken pieces." Autumn and Blake faced each other, hands clasped. He wore no tie, his collar open, relaxed in a way his former self never could have been. She wore no veil, her face open to him, no more masks or pretenses needed. "The rings, please," Grandmother Emma requested. Ethan stepped forward importantly, offering the box. Inside lay 2 bands, not the original engagement ring, which remained on its chain as a reminder of their journey, but new rings for their new beginning. "I choose you," Blake's voice was thick with emotion as he slid the ring onto Autumn's finger. "Not out of obligation or expectation, but because you make me better. You challenge me to be genuine, to be brave, to be the father our children deserve. What began as your revenge became my redemption." Tears slipped down Autumn's cheeks as she placed his ring. "I choose you," she echoed. "Not because I forgot the past, but because I believe in our future. You've shown me that real love isn't about power or control, it's about growing together, healing together, and choosing each other every day. By the power vested in me," Grandmother Emma's voice carried across the garden, and with the enthusiastic approval of our 2 most important witnesses, she smiled at the twins, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Their kiss was sweet with promise, accompanied by their children's cheers and the sound of waves on the distant shore. At the reception, as twilight painted the sky in pinks and purples, Autumn watched her family with wonder. Ethan showed Janet his latest engineering project, a complicated water wheel he'd built with Blake's help. Emma taught Grandmother Emma her special secret handshake. And Blake watched them all with the same wonder in his eyes. "No regrets?" he asked softly, coming to stand beside her. "About the revenge plot that brought me back to you?" Autumn leaned into his embrace. "It gave me something I never expected." "What's that?" "The understanding that true happiness isn't about getting even, it's about getting free. Free from bitterness, free from the past, free to create something new." As if to emphasize her words, the twins ran up, throwing their arms around both parents. Their family embrace, silhouetted against the sunset, painted a picture of what revenge transformed by love could create. The moral was clear: sometimes life's greatest revenge isn't in destroying what hurt you, but in building something so beautiful from the ashes that those who broke you have to live with the knowledge of what they lost. True power isn't in wealth or control, but in the courage to love deeply, forgive profoundly, and create your own definition of family. For in the end, Autumn hadn't just gotten revenge, she'd gotten everything: love restored, family united, and a future bright with possibilities. She'd learned that the best revenge isn't served cold, but warm with forgiveness, rich with growth, and sweet with the laughter of children who would never know the taste of bitterness that had once driven their parents apart. And that was a victory greater than any revenge could provide.